Hello, everybody. This is Hunter Hero, and this is a bit after the event, but this is my Snake Eyes Azamina Fiendsmith. It's like a pile deck profile for this month. This is the top. This is the fourth place list that I got for the regional today that I went and competed in. Um, so this profile is going to be a lot more in depth than some of my other ones might have been, because a lot more discussion needs to be going into like what I thought when I was putting these cards together, what their purposes in the deck was, and some decision making I had made during the game, what came up, what didn't, what felt like it worked, all that happy horse, shenanigans, all that stuff. So I could sit here and ramble all day about the start, but let's start talking about this main deck because we got 47 cards to chew through. For our Snake Eyes names, we are on 1 Ash, 2 Oak, 1 Poplar, 1 Snake Eyes Diabell Star, and 1 Flamberge. So, the decision making behind the Double Oak, which is the only non standard part of this list, is basically not wanting to dead draw Oak, because if you drew this card during your opening plays, it meant that these two cards became a lot weaker, and if you drew them in multiples, then you would hate to have nothing to combo with. It meant that your hands were more frail, and it meant that over the course of a longer grind game, there was nothing for you to grab for longer interactions for the little Snake Eyes. If I were to go back and do it again, I don't think I would change anything about the little guys. Just because of how much the second Oak came up during giving Original Simple Spoils another search target, in addition to being like a 2k swing, on top of just everything else that the card provided. I think 2 of this is correct, at least in the pure variants. If you're playing this with like another variant, 1 of this should be fine, because it means that this thing should have more things to be searching instead. The Flamberge Dragon's also super standard. We're not going to sit here and talk about that. I do want to go over this card in particular, because this card is really, really good. When we go to talk about the field spell, I'll kind of talk about like some important points about this card using it for setup. But for breaking boards, this was one of the best cards in the entire archetype for me all day. I went against 2 Voiceless Voice players during earlier Swiss rounds, and basically what happened is that we were able to outgrind them by using her battle phase effect to non-targeting push their Skull Guardians into the back row. So it meant that this one card got to trade for Skull Guardian, and then we would summon it back over the course of their turn, trade it for the second one, and then clog their back row so they couldn't do anything anymore, which was really, really strong, in addition to what it was already doing for like setup combos and stuff. So this card is fantastic. Legitimately, like the probably biggest MVP in terms of the Snake Eyes cards. Just in the fact that it just did so much over the course of the tournament. Free Black Witch. I don't know. This thing having an additional target to search in the deck is really nice. I actually didn't set Deception on that much unless I already like ripped the OSS. Because most of the time of how like your setup combos and stuff through interaction tend to go. This card tends to show up a little bit later through fishing, through interactions, so that way you at least stick something that's big enough on a body to trade with your opponent's monsters in battle, and then you can send it for like OSS. But something else that also came up a lot during the event was just kind of leaving her on board, so that way she would get ran over in battle, trigger her float effect, so that way you could send dead copies of Poplar in your back row to summon her back to the field, and then she would get another search, which meant that you were thinning your deck for more pieces that you wanted to draw over the course of the game, which felt really, really good, especially in like longer games where hand traps were being thrown around a lot more frequently, and I wasn't able to establish combo. a lot of people have, over the course of the tournament day, said that impriming this card is really good, but there's a lot of targets in this deck that Imperm, Mourner, Veiler are really, really good against. So that's why I was holding DFL Stars back to use as the last line of trying to push through a board, was so that way they were more incentivized to use the Imperms on something else. That was something that I kind of picked up as like a knowledge check, is that if you held these for longer, it meant that they were more likely to burn their Imperms and stuff earlier in your turn, because of how many starters this deck has access to. Probably the cards I did not want to draw the most. Lacrima the Crimson Tears and Fiendsmith Engraver. So this is the usual ratio of 1-1. There was times in testing back when I was first putting this deck together where there was nothing for this thing to search. We weren't playing Tractor Lurie. Spoiler alert for later on in the video, I guess. But they were in testing. We were early on not playing Tractor Lurie, which made that this card without DFL Star was like unplayable, because you would draw it, you have no way to get it out of your hand other than like link one into it, and that just, it was so bad and such a loss in tempo that I needed to play something to get it live more often than not. And then the Lacrima is Lacrima. I made a misplay. It didn't cost me the game, but I did make a misplay during one of my matches where I forgot to use her effect to summon herself from the graveyard by summoning the Requiem from graveyard, and then spinning her back out using her using Requiem's effect to dump this back into my graveyard to restart the link play. I completely forgot about that. And that didn't cost me the game. I won that game anyway, but it would have been a smaller piece of interaction to help keep the pressure on, because something that this deck is really good at is that once you kind of, make them to give a little bit of ground, you're good at taking advantage of that, which was something I found out over the course of the long tournament day today, which was they would give an inch and I would take a mile, and it felt really, really good to have that advantage. And then time for the last engine we were playing. 3 Unicorn, 2 Fenrir. These weren't in. These were the last major additions to the deck before we started like finalized testing, where we put these in like 1.5, 2 weeks ago, just to see if these would pan out, and these cards were fantastic. Unicorn is basically Fiendsmith combo through interaction, which is kind of crazy to think about. These cards just ate interaction for me. But the fact that these things trade 1-for-1 almost every time, the Unicorn spot picking removal out of your opponent's extra deck was really nice. I didn't draw Fenrir like the entire event, so I kind of forgot he was in the list, but I did draw him once and it did come up. But overall, like, this was a fantastic package, and if I were to do it again, I'd probably just pump the Fenrir to 3 and then cut one of the Birth instead. And then the engine requirement of Lurie, it's just a year for Tract. For hand traps, we were on 3 Ash, 3 Fulos, 2 Ogre, and 2 Veiler. I have one issue with the non-engine of this deck, and that was this card. Now we're playing 47 cards, so drawing it was kind of a problem, but like every matchup today, I just would have won if I just wasn't playing Fulos, and instead like it was just any other card in my deck. And my final match, the one that lost me first place at the event, was against Centurion, and I drew 2 of these cards, which did nothing to his strategy. He just killed me. And it feels terrible to draw this card in spades, because it's just like it doesn't do anything. Like, I think this event simplified the fact that because this card's price point is pushing everybody out of the format, and the people who know that it's good are playing around it, this card stops being as effective unless your opponent's on Ubel. And even then, I had no problems chewing through like Ubel boards because of how few interactions their board was ending on versus just how much advantage I was able to pump out per individual card. Because this deck trades really, really well 1-for-1 wise. If I were to do this event again, I would just either cut these outright and just leave the slot empty and push the deck down to 44, or instead we cut one of this entirely, putting it to 46, and then just play the second ogre and the third ogre and Veiler. Because this card in particular was MVP today. Hitting Centurion cards was really, really strong over the course of the long event time. It was good against Centurion. It was really good against Voiceless Voice. It was fantastic against UL because it would go like Nightmare Pain effect to pop something, and then you just blow up the Nightmare Pain and they wouldn't get anything out of it. I'm not sure if it was a scene thing, but I also didn't see Thrust all that much in my matches, so I felt a lot more comfortable just throwing hand traps more aggressively than worrying about getting Thrust. Something else about Ogre as well is that it plays really well into the Bestial cards, with their popularity increasing and the fact that the one of Engraver keeps getting hit. This thing being able to pop Regained felt really, really good over the course of games. I played against 2 Bestial control decks, and just popping Regain over and over again with this card felt really, really good. So, onto the spell cards. 3 Wanted, Seeker of Sinful Spoils, and 3 Bonfire. These cards might as well be the same thing. Now, they don't search for the same things, but these are just like regular consistency cards. I wish I drew this more often over the course of the day. That's just variance talking, but like every game I drew this card, it was it fetched an interaction from my opponent and then drew me a card, which helped trade into more 1-for-1 scenarios, which is what this deck wants you to do. Is they want 1-for-1s to just bleed you dry, and then they'll just stick the one card anyway. And it was really funny how little I was resolving Bonfire too, because I would be drawing it after I had already searched all the Snake Eyes except for the one Oak that I wanted to leave in deck for Ash on the next turn to Chain Block, which felt really weird. But there were like 2 or 3 hands where it was like Diabell Star or like Wanted Poster, and then you'd go like Diabell Star, get in Cashier a card, Diabell Star, Fiendsmith, and then you just go Bonfire and then go full combo from there, which was so funny. Voiceless Voice Player during my like second to last round or something had hand trapped me 3 times, and then things were looking bleak, and then I just Bonfired and he saw the full combo and he just conceded from there. It was fantastic. The best worst card in the deck, 2 Deceptions of the Sinful Spoils. I love and hate this card. This one card kept getting ogred all day, which meant that it just didn't feel like it was giving me any value. But there were like games where the fact that the thing was just recurable was more than enough to keep me in the game. If I were to do this over again, I would actually give this thing a second search target and probably play the third one. Something else you could play over the Fuerlos. I wouldn't play a second Hollowed Azamina. I'd probably go back to Azamina Debtors again, which is just the quick play one to play into spot removal on your opponent's turn. But this was the best worst card of the event. You were just using it to fish interaction more often than not, and again, just forcing those 1-for-1s. The entry requirement of the Hollowed Azamina is the fusion spell. It's good, but with the uptake in Bestials, I wanted more cards to search off of the Deception. So either we'll play 2 of this, or we'll be playing 1 Debtors to make up for search targets. Because if they Bestial out the guys out of your graveyard, this thing can't return to your hand. And then for the Snake Eyes, 1 original Simple Spoil Snake Eye and 1 Divine Temple of the Snake Eye. OSS is just a fantastic card. It's been good for the entire lifespan of the card. And then the field spell was used for like what it's usually used for. We didn't get nibbed at all over the course of the tournament day. I think that was a fluke. I think I should have been nibbed a lot more often, and this card helps insulate against that. But usually what you're doing with this is that you'd go Ash for Poplar for this, and then this places Snake Eyes Diabell Star. And I'm not sure if this is the proper sequencing, but I saw so much more success doing it this way, where you would go with the Ash on board, and the Snake Eyes Diabellstar in the back row, I would use this and send this and leave the Poplar on board. And the logic behind that over the course of the day was, if I got Ash Blossomed or something there, where I basically just went -2 for nothing, the Poplar could then link into Anima, which then places the Snake Eyes Diabellstar back in the back row. The Snake Eyes Diabellstar places the Poplar back, and then you can go into Fiendsmith combo from there. And that was the primary loop. Sending the field spell off of OSS felt good the entire day. Sending just stuff for Diabellstar felt really good. So we're almost done with the main deck. Raysoth and Two Birth. These were just fishing interaction all day. The one true benefit to playing so many engines is that you don't lose as much to 1-for-1 removal unless you draw just the critical mass of stuff. Like my finals round against Centurion, I was just playing Kashtira, which was not enough to stop them because they drew really, really well both games as well. But these two cards just fishing free interaction and forcing your opponent to have to play on more of your turns felt really, really good. And again, the only thing I would do is probably just play another Fenrir over the Birth. Checked. Used to search Lurie. And then the one of Called by the Grave. This in 47 you're not going to see it super often, but I would still argue that the one of slot's still appreciated. It helps you play better into like Ubel, helps you play better into Charmies, because if you let them if they go Chainlink 1 Charmy and then you pass priority and then they go Chainlink 2 a Charmy and then you called by it, you get 2 birds with 1 stone, which feels really, really good. Didn't do that all day either because I couldn't draw this card when it mattered most, but it's not bad. And then 3 Imperm for the last hand trap we're playing. And the one Angel Statue Azarun. We didn't do the interaction at all. It actually came up a lot more in testing than it did in practical play. But this card is really, really important for how you play through Droplet. Is when you set it in the back row and then you have something like Desiree, you go they go like Droplet, send monster and spell, so that way you can't like chain your stuff, and then you go Azrune, chain the Desiree to negate their stuff, just like how a lot of people would be doing it with Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, I think is the name of the guy. It's very similar how you do that interaction, which was really, really strong. This thing negating summons carried a lot of the event today. I was going against a different Voiceless Voice player who his board was mostly broken, so he goes to Lincoln to Lina, and I negated her summon, and he just had to concede from there because he was left on a monster on board, which I think was a low, versus like the 3 or 4 other cards I had on board, and so yeah. That's it for the main deck. I am like rambling, so I'm gonna crack a drink here. Alright, on to the extra deck. For the Azaminos fusions, we'll talk about him in a minute. Murcielago, Illa Sylvia, and Sol. I'm not going to try to pronounce his actual name. I call him Mr. Cryon, and that's not even close to his actual name. These two are the usual standard variety. This searches Simple Spoils cards. I was using this to search Poster more often than searching OSS for it. Just because the draw was so much more important. Ilya Selva, I didn't make it all today. I never drew the Hollowed Azamina, so there was just never a window for me to get to do the Omni Negate, which was rough. And then we didn't do it at all because, again, we just didn't draw the Hollowed Azamina. But Soul was chosen as spot removal in the extra deck off of the Azamina cards, which I just thought I needed. We didn't summon most of this over the course of the day. I kind of hated them being in the extra deck. And I made a misplay by not sending these off of a Dogmatica Maximus, but what can you do? For the Fiendsmith stuff, Moon of the Closed Heaven, Requiem, Sequence, and Desiree. A lot of this is, again, just super standard. Most of the extract from this point is going to be super standard. There's not even like cool like subtext I can teach you about like what happened. Like after getting hand trapped a lot, I played Desiree Beatdown, which was good enough, but that's it's not really anything relevant to the profile here. On to the rest of the links you're playing. One Relinquished Anima, one IP, one SP Little Knight, Solo Hat Rabbit, Phoenix for our 1 and 2s. I guess to explain something that you don't see here, we were not playing Hita at all today, and I would do that 100% again. The problem with Hita is that Hita doesn't Hita trades to get into a OTK combo, but your opponent already needs to have a fire monster in their graveyard, and with how many people were not playing fire decks, I was relying on them having like Ash Blossom, and I hated it because it did nothing against like the Bestial decks, and it was like, oh, it's another lane 2 you can make. You can remake Moon over and over again too. It was like it's really, really frustrating to have to try to explain that to people, but it was really good. This card came up a lot more than I thought I would. During my first game of the day, we were Promethean locked, and so I had to turn the Promethean into Phoenix to get it off the board rather than the Link 4 because I wanted to save that for later. And it turned into a very weird scenario where we were just making a Phoenix to make a Phoenix so that we could make the Hat Rabbit over it, and it was a really weird interaction. And then the OTK stuff. I legitimately don't know if there's anything I could explain to make these cards better. The Promethean Princess interaction is really strong. Zealantis Co-Link Pop 2 was really good. During testing, but not in practice, there was a game where I had a Zealantis in the EMZ, and I put the Anima in the below column to give it a pop on my opponent's turn, despite the fact that the Anima didn't do anything. It was a little weird, and I was like, that's super niche, but it is a it is something you can do in the deck, I suppose. You can also do the same thing with Phoenix, by the way, is that you can use the Phoenix, pop a card, and then use the Phoenix to do the OTK line. It just means that your Raging Phoenix is a little smaller. As for like the sideboard, which is something I normally don't talk about, but I do want to make up like some decisions and let you know what I was thinking. We were on 3 Mourner for time and 3 Chummies, Perulias, and then 2 Droll for the monsters of the sideboard. I didn't side into this. Most of my games weren't running into time. I was just like, they were killing me or I was killing them too fast for it to matter. The Chummy Perulias, I sided into Bestial matchups, and even then I didn't draw them. It's probably one of those where the deck count matters a little bit more. But the one time I did resolve a Charmy at all today, I got drolled like on the one draw, and it was a little unfortunate. And then we saw the droll in a match where I was already winning, but it was really, really good. It would be one of those where I'd probably keep these in the side and then just like find a way to find the third roll, which we probably will. We didn't side any of the going second cards for the next package, so we'll just get to that. We were playing Trusts. With the accessibility of this card, this should be a lot easier to do. And then we were playing 4 Thrust targets. DR Arc Ruler, Talents, Evenly Matched, and Barrier. We didn't side these at all. If I were to do this again, I would play like not Feather Duster, actually probably Feather Duster over this, and then Cosmic or not Cosmic, just more spot removal in these slots over these two, and then these two were great. Again, mostly Bestial stuff. Barriers for Centurion, which I did resolve, but it didn't win me the game. I did stop them from killing me in one turn, but it didn't really matter. But if we were to do this again, these 2 cards would definitely be just subbed out for just basically anything else. We were playing different Dimension Grounds for a while there, But the problem was is that the burning land policy that it put me under was so specific that I needed to have been hand trapped to the point where a thrusted card could not get me out, and that would be the like one instance that different dimension card was good, and it felt really bad, so we just didn't play it. But that's a lot of this deck profile. If you guys have any questions, I'll happily answer anything you may have for this deck. This was my, I guess, like the one thing I can answer before signing off today was why I chose this deck. And it was probably because I didn't want to learn Centurion in less time. This was a deck I already had kind of known, and I had been practicing leading up to the announcement of the event. And I thoroughly enjoy the deck. If you have any like questions, comments, or like thoughts about stuff I could have done differently, or like stuff that you liked in your list, or where was X card, I can kind of do my best to answer this in the comments. I would love to like talk more about this deck here, but I can't find like enough like topics to talk about outside of just like you guys asking me for stuff. So don't be afraid to get active this time. But yeah, so this is the list I took and got top 4 with, and I appreciate you guys for watching. Sorry I haven't posted in a while. Things got really busy, so hopefully I will be posting another list once I find something else to post a list about. You'll be getting that next. But that's about it. I thank you guys for watching, and have a wonderful day.